And when it comes to competing, can you talk about the admission process for that, like how you can enroll in the Coast Guard Academy, how that differs from the other academies, and you said that it's pretty competitive. It's a small school. There's not as many people as probably the other service academies and what they bring in. So can you talk about like how you're able to stand out in your application process?
So to first answer the difference between the Coast Guard Academy and say the other service academies, West Point, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy, the one difference in the application process is it doesn't require a congressional nomination. At least when I was going through, I don't know if things have changed. So when I applied, when I put in my application, it's solely based on merit essentially. So you have, and I think the top candidates, I guess that you'd say, that kind of go to these academies, they're not, or they excel, right, but not in just one thing, right? So they're very well rounded. It takes top grades not just in the classroom, but it also takes top performance on the athletic field. It takes initiative in the community. It takes leadership positions, in different aspects of whether it's school, whether it's the I guess like I said, neighboring community. So like doing community service, starting sort of these fundraisers, or just being involved. I say you're separating yourself from the crowd, right? So what are you doing that's unique, that when somebody, and there's like I imagine, there's a panelist of, people that are reviewing your application, they're reading through tons and tons of these things. So what are you doing essentially that says, oh, wow, like, so and so is doing XYZ that's completely different, and it's completely unique, and it's worth digging a little bit more, and then you find out, top student, captain of their sports team, and it's just that it's that well-rounded individual. It's not just excelling at one thing, it's being able to excel at multiple things. So hopefully that kind of gives a little bit insight on that.
It kind of sounds like someone that is really maybe planning throughout their high school career, or their high school time, to position themselves for maybe like scholarships, like at a university, or a service academy. But for you, like you said, you went to community college, you didn't have the best grades in high school, and it didn't really maybe even sound like it was something that was really, really on your radar until like you were already going to college, and then you're just like, hey, oh, there's service academies that I'm interested in. So can you kind of explain, like, for someone that is maybe they're coming up towards the end of their high school, and then they're like, well, I just found out about the academy. I was interested in the Coast Guard, and then I see this guy Julian talking about the academy, and now I want to go to the academy, but they didn't maybe plan that. How can you are those people not going to be capable, or are you just like a special case? Like, can you kind of break that down?
No, certainly not a special case. What I would say is, when I was at that point in high school to put my application forward, I was basically competing against, other high school students or even other college students that already built up that resume of leadership positions, or built up that resume of like community outreach, built up that resume of excellent grades. And so, looking back, I obviously see why, like, I might not have made the first cut, and I think that's and that happens in life, right? You're not going to always get it on your first try, but to be like persistent, and to kind of keep trying, but keep trying in a way where you're sort of focusing your attention. So like for me, I knew I had to focus my attention, if I was really serious about putting in my application for the academies. Like I had to take the prerequisites for all their, because they're STEM oriented, so oriented. So it's like, science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's like, I didn't have, like, for example, it's like calculus. So like I had to go to community college, and I took a pre-calculus, and then I took a calculus 1, and then took calculus 2. And then, so like, it wasn't so much where I guess what I would say is like, focus that efforts in your application, even if you are like coming up on, like I missed the deadline. Well, there's always another deadline. There's certain like I wouldn't just give up right then and there. Like if it's something that you're seriously considering, try first time. If that doesn't work out, keep trying a second time, even a third time. Like, I mean, I know this is kind of jumping, but this is how I kind of got into the flight program. Like I didn't make it on the first try, So like, so it's, I think it's just maybe the story of, I guess, my career thus far is, just, keep like persevering and in a way where you're setting yourself up for success. Like if somebody was, on your end, reviewing my application essentially, and they don't really know me, what are they going to look at? Well, they're going to look at your past performance. And so, obviously we can kind of go into, being a junior officer and kind of, later on, but those were the two things I'd highlight is like, you got to perform and, it's got to be obviously applicable, in your career field that you're performing in. And so.
Got it. So kind of what I'm taking away from this is that if you're planning throughout your whole, high school time, you're doing all the right efforts and you apply, you have a very, your chances of getting picked up the first time is a lot more likely because you put that time, you put that effort into it. In your case, it didn't sound like that was something you planned throughout high school, but just because you put in the first time, you knew that you were competing against everybody else that was really stellar, but because you went that extra step and you said, hey, I'm still interested in this, so I'm going to take the appropriate steps, like enrolling in community college, doing the required prerequisites. Was there anything else that you did aside from just going to college that helped you, that you feel that helped you get accepted during the second round?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So again, it's basically building your case or building your resume. So I got involved with the student council group at the community college. But I mean, I guess just so that was an example. Doing community service events, and like whether it's food drives or donating clothes. Like I was working, you know, essentially part time at like Outback, so it's like I was working, I was going to school, I was doing community service, I was in a student government, and it's like, oh, so that's probably why you kind of stood out. You know what I mean? So I think, obviously, like, look, when I was doing, I guess when I was in the community college, maybe I didn't really see that kind of 30,000 foot view. But I just like, knew that to take it to the next level, you just had to be unique and really differentiate yourselves and distinguish yourself from the crowd. So kind of like I said, volunteering, doing things out of your comfort zone, is hard. It's not easy, right? So, stretching those bounds, putting yourself out, there is, it all adds up. It's all these little steps to build up, and over time, right? That ends up becoming, you can look back and say, man, like, wow, so that's probably why it kind of made sense. Yeah, that's kind of what I would say in terms of a takeaway is, if you don't get it the first time, that's all right. Put yourself in a position to take advantage of that opportunity when it comes around, and that's what I would say.